What's up guys, I am Mahi and welcome to the most important video regarding practice routines, which is the ladder theory. The idea is that each step in the ladder here, they are your practice exercises. They are individual steps you take, maybe deathmatching, maybe aim training, flicking, yprac, whatever you do, these are the steps. But it doesn't matter how many steps you have. It doesn't matter how much you train. If you don't have the vertical bars, these are what's keeping the practice routine up. These are what allow you to climb in the long run. Without the vertical bars, your steps are nothing. Your entire ladder is gonna come falling down. Most people, they pick up a practice routine from the internet and then their practice routine says you have to do this and this and this and this and this and this much and this much. That's not gonna work. And that's what the bottom left illustrates here. You start off with a practice routine where you train like 2 hours every single day, and then you get burnt out, you get bored, you don't want to do it anymore, and then you don't do anything anymore. You do 0 hours for the rest of the year, and that's not a good way to do it. I would way rather have you be consistent and sustainable with your practice routine and do just 15 minutes per day, or 5 minutes per day, or 10, whatever it takes for you to stay sustainable and consistent. That's what you need to do. That's how you keep the ladder up. Otherwise, all the steps are useless, right? So now let's start off at the bottom, because obviously that's how you climb the ladder. You start off with flicking. This is, in my mind, the most important one to do first, because it warms up your hand. It's basically your aim bots. It's your kovaaK or whatever aim lab you might be using. This is where you just flick one stationary target to another. And I say here 5+ minutes per session. Again, this is because of the consistency. The time, don't just force yourself to do 30 minutes from the get-go. You're not gonna stay consistent that way. You're gonna get burnt out if you haven't done any practice routines before. You need to start small, and that's why there's the plus. If you feel like doing more, you are allowed to, okay? You don't have to do more, you are allowed to do more. And then that's it. That's the first step. Now you have taken one step on the ladder. And then the next most important thing I think people should train is pre-aiming. So this is your yprac or refrag, where you basically practice counter-strafing and pre-aiming at the same time. So flicking is more about just muscle memory. Pre-aiming is about muscle coordination between your keyboard and mouse, while also helping you visualize where the enemies are and how high to keep your crosshair. So it's a bit more complicated than flicking, whereas flicking is more like isolative exercise for your hand, like muscle movement and muscle memory. Then I also recommend doing some real training. So by real, I mean against real players. So maybe deathmatching or retakes. That's why it's in quotes. It's deathmatching or retakes against real players. And I think you should do like 15 minutes when you decide to do it, just because it's fun and it's nice to get into the gaming mentality. But that's why it says sometimes. You don't need to do this every session. Pre-aiming and flicking, I want you to do them every session, at least a little bit. Real training, just do it like once a week or even once every 2 weeks. I don't care. Then recoil training, sometimes maybe. I really don't care. Like, it's better to do recoil training than not to. But actually, you can get up to global even if you don't practice your recoil. It's gonna be easier if you do practice. But it's not that important. Just do it sometimes, once a week, once a month, whatever. And then there's movement training, which is just your KC, surfing, whatever. Do it when you're bored. When you don't feel like playing, but you still want to do something with CS, that's when you launch up a surf server or whatever, and you just do some movement training. It's not as important, but it's still nice to train. I recommend doing some KC. It helps with your movement. But it's not as necessary. And guys, you can adjust this stuff. Like if you notice that your recoil is lacking and you have like 90% headshot rates with your pre-aiming and flicking, then obviously you do more recoil. Like the more advanced you get, the more you know what's good for you yourself. This video, like the recommendations I give, they are more aimed towards beginners. And then the more advanced you get, like as you reach closer and closer to global, that's when you might wanna do something else. And you can even do like something completely different. You can add a new step here and do like flick training against moving targets, like whatever it might be. As long as it fits the ladder theory, you're good to go. However, the steps really don't matter if you don't stay sustainable and if you don't stay consistent. So if these are the minimum requirements here in my personal practice routine. If this seems like too much for you, that's when you have to take one step out. You have no other options. if the option is to fall down and have the entire ladder collapse, then obviously you would much rather climb slower than collapse entirely. Okay, so you have no other option. That's the point behind the ladder theory. You do what you have to stay consistent and sustainable. All right. Now, for majority of you, you are going to be doing more than the minimum requirements here. That's why there are pluses everywhere. That's the most important, but that's the ladder theory, guys. Now we can take a look at some of tips and tricks I have for flick training, for pre-aiming, and for real training, how I like to do them, how you can do them efficiently. But if you don't feel like watching further, this is already good enough. If you understand the ladder theory and you remember it every single time you practice, you remember that you don't have to do much. Anything is better than nothing. And you're allowed to do more if you want to, and only if you want to, then you're already good. Like, that's already a good practice routine, guys. Okay, so now we can take a look at my personal preferences, how I like to practice, but this is not how you need to practice. As long as you have some form of flick training, you're good to go. I like aimbots because it's easily accessible. I can launch up CS and do aimbots. I don't need a separate app. If you like kovaaK, if you like aimlab, go for it, man. As long as you have stationary targets and you're doing some flick training, you're good to go. So the way I like to do aimbots is I like to first turn on the 90 degrees angle. And notice, guys, I don't even launch up the timer. I'm not here to make a world record. I'm here to practice my aiming. All right. So don't start the timer. Jump up. Okay, sorry, you don't have to jump up. You do you. I like to jump up, guys, just so that I get some verticality as well. If you don't want it, you don't need to. And then the most important part is you are being accurate. So that's where a lot of people go wrong with flick training. They are trying to be fast. Don't try to be fast, guys. Try to be slow. You are not Nico, all right? You need to start off slow. You need to practice. You need to train your arm. You need to train proper muscle memory. All right, so we are trying to train our hand to be accurate. And once you start getting good at it, that's when you can speed up. The speed comes naturally. Accuracy is what matters. Always, always, always be accurate first and foremost. And then if it gets boring and easy, that's when you can speed up. And when you start speeding up, if you notice that you start missing some of your bullets, so here you only land like every third bullet or whatever, or even if you only miss every fifth bullet, that's already too much. That's when you need to slow down again, reset the progress, reset your mentality, and remember why you are here. You're not here to make a world record. You're here to practice your aiming. You're here to train muscle memory, and then you can speed up once it kind of gets easy and boring. All right, so that's how you do aim training. You're not Nico. You do it at your own pace, and you make sure you're being accurate. So that's flicking for you guys. That's the first step, and the reason it's 5+ minutes, again, anything is better than nothing. And if you're like an advanced player and you think your flicking is already super good, you don't actually want to do too much of this. It's just waste of time at that point. 5 minutes should be plenty enough for like a nice little warm-up, because that's all you need. And then you should probably focus more on the pre-aim and deathmatching. And you probably want to check the end of the video where we go over how to deathmatch properly, which is something all the advanced players should learn. Whereas if you are a really beginner and you're not really confident with your mouse quite yet, and flicking isn't really too good, you miss your bullets even when the enemy is stationary and not looking at you, that's when you probably want to do a little bit more of flicking. Focusing on real training and pre-aiming might be a little bit too soon. However, again, you do you. Whatever you do, you need to stay sustainable and consistent. That's the main part. If you only enjoy aim training with flicking, then it's better than nothing, guys. Next, let's take a look at how I like to train my pre-aiming. Again, this is just me. If you have, for example, refrag, you can use that one. If you have some other tool I don't know about, you can use that one. I like to use yprac. Let's see how I do it. So yprac maps are completely free. You can download them from the workshop, and then I like to launch up the pre-fire practice. And I don't even care about the settings. I don't even know what they do. I just get into pre-aiming, and that's good. I chose Anubis because it's a map I'm not confident with. It's a new map. And then you see these white dots, and then you just think these are the legs, and you think where should the head be? This is probably the first guy I'm gonna see. And boom, you get the headshot. So things you need to focus on here. First of all, the crosshair placement. Again, his legs are here, so I try to visualize where the guy should probably be, like where his head should be, probably around here. And then you need to like aim a little bit past him, so that when you move into him, that's when your crosshair is gonna be on him. So you don't want to aim where he is and then move like this, because you don't want to be flicking if you don't have to, all right? So that's pre-aiming for you guys. You pre-aim a little bit to his left and then you peek right and get the headshot, all right? These maps are also really good at giving you instant feedback. So for example, if I don't know this angle too well and I think the guy might be like up here, and I peek, I realize, oh, he's way further back and way lower than I thought. And I get like instant feedback, and now I actually learn the angle as well. So these pre-aim maps are super useful for not only learning pre-aim, not only learning counter strafing, but also helping you visualize where the enemy is and helping you learn these annoying angles that you might not see too often in game. And especially if you are not confident with the map, this is like super speeding up the practice. It would take you like 100 games to learn all these angles, whereas now you can just learn them one by one. You can get this instant feedback, oh, he's lower than I thought. And it's also going to help you visualize where the enemies are. So this is something pros are really good at, and this is something you need to be really good at as well. You need to visualize where the enemy is probably standing, and you need to visualize his head. That's a tough angle, honestly. That's not how you should play yprac. Don't peek into them, stand still and flick. That was just me being lazy. You want to visualize the enemy and then peek into them properly. And it also is going to teach you when you over peek, alright? So this is an angle I might have over peeked in real games as well. So now I learn immediately that, okay, this is a tough angle. I need to, oh wow, that's actually a tough angle. I need to peek it perfectly. I need to be real good with this. Now, I know this is an angle I will probably train more in the future because it's so accurate one. I cannot over peek it. I cannot peek it from too far away. Either way, I'm gonna die, so I need to peek this perfectly. And now I'm gonna practice and focus on this angle more in the future. So you can see how useful yprac is. Or any other similar to refrag, whatever you might be using. This is what you need to spend a lot of time on once you start becoming a little bit more advanced. So once the flick training seems to be kind of easy and you don't want to do too much of it, then move on to ypracing more. Now the final step that I like to think of as mandatory, so at least sometimes you need to do this, which is the real training. So for beginners, I like recommending the retake servers. There's Valve official retake servers as well. You can find them from Play CSGO, and then you go official matchmaking and war games, and there's retakes. So this is very useful for beginners. It's going to help you learn the maps. It's going to help you how opponents play in these retake situations. It's going to help you with clutch situations. You can do 15 plus minutes of it every week, maybe every 2 weeks. You can do like, even some people go crazy with this and they can do like 2 hours of it because it's actually fun sometimes. So yeah, just do that for beginners. But then there's also deathmatching, which is it's a tool. A lot of people say deathmatching is the most important thing you need to do to practice. And a lot of people tell you deathmatching is just going to teach you bad habits. It's not realistic. This is where even other coaches get this wrong. Guys, deathmatching is a tool. If you use it well, you're going to get in good practice. If you use it poorly, you're going to get in poor practice. All right? So again, deathmatching is a tool and there are many ways to use it. You just need to isolate some form that you want to practice this time. If you want to practice maybe recoil training, let's say you have been doing some recoil, some isolated recoil training on like a recoil practice map, and then you want to fine tune it against real moving opponents who shoot back, that's when you go deathmatching. And when you do, you only spray, like I don't care how far away the enemy is, you only spray them. Those are real people who shoot back, who move around, and you want to practice spraying, so you spray in deathmatching. It's a tool that you use for practicing your spraying. And that's not just for recoil. If you've been practicing your pre-aiming, let's say you've been doing 30 minutes of yprac and now you want to see how it works in real games, that's when you do real training. You can either do the retakes or you can do deathmatching. And you focus on pre-aiming only. You don't spray. You never spray. You move slowly. You visualize in your head that, hey, I'm in a 1 versus 5 clutch and there are enemies all around me. They could be flanking me already. I need proper pre-aiming. I need to peek people properly. I need to shoot headshots real quickly because there's going to be somebody trading me, all this stuff. All right, so you use deathmatching as a tool. You choose what you want to focus on, and then you practice only that thing in deathmatching. If you want to practice, let's say, tapping, then you intentionally try to get into places where there are long distances. So let's say you're playing Dust 2 deathmatch. You don't want to play inside tunnels if you're tapping. You want to try and get out of tunnels. You maybe want to get to long and then you practice tapping in deathmatching. All right, so don't go there and try to be the best. Don't try to be the top fragger. Again, you're not making a world record here. That's not real game. That's not where you want to exceed. That's where you want to practice. And then you want to exceed in the real games, guys. You want to rank up in competitive games. You don't want to be the best deathmatcher. No, you want to use deathmatching as a tool so that you'll be the best player in comp. And that's what you need to remember. Too many people, they go deathmatching and they just try to kill everybody. No matter what it takes, I have to kill everyone. And that's where all the training goes out the window, and you forget what you're there for in reality. So yeah, deathmatching can be useful. You need to use it properly, all right? And as long as you keep your practice routine sustainable and consistent, you're gonna be fine. So if you don't like some of this stuff and trying to follow my advice too closely will end up with you crushing the entire ladder, then don't follow my advice, all right? I hope you like the ladder theory. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, whatever. See you guys in the next one. Bye.